The plane is booked, the bags are packed, and Mikel Arteta is walking into the Metropolitano tonight for a press conference in enemy territory. Arsenal are hours away from the first leg of a Champions League semi-final against Atletico Madrid. Not a group stage warm-up, not a round of 16, a semi-final. 4 wins from a European trophy, and everything around this club right now is moving at full speed. Calafiori is racing to be fit. Martinelli is sharpening his counter-attacking edge. Simeone is standing in front of cameras, warning the world this will not be like the 4-0. And David Raya has just said something about Tottenham that the whole of North London is talking about. This is not a quiet match day eve. This is Arsenal on the edge of history with noise coming from every direction. So let us cut through it together. Right now, the head-to-head record that matters. The recent history between Arsenal and Atletico Madrid tells you everything you need to know about how different this tie is compared to 8 years ago. The record reads like this. On October 21st, 2025, Arsenal beat Atletico Madrid 4-0 in the Champions League. That scoreline is not a footnote. That is a statement. It says Arsenal under Arteta have the firepower and the structure to completely dismantle Atletico Madrid on their best day. The 2 other meetings go back to 2018 during the Europa League. But Atletico won the second leg 1-0 on May 3rd, 2018, and the first leg on April 26, 2018 ended 1-1. My analysis of this is simple. Those 2018 results belong to a completely different era of Arsenal football. The club was different, the identity was different, the belief was different. The 4-0 result from October 2025 is the only data point that matters heading into this semi-final. Atletico know what this Arsenal side is capable of, and Diego Simeone knows it too. The matchday preparation and Arteta's press conference, Arsenal held an open training session with the media at 11:30 in the morning before flying to Madrid for the first leg. Later, Mikel Arteta was scheduled to hold a press conference at 6 in the evening at the Metropolitano stadium. Now let me tell you why this matters. The fact that Arsenal allowed media access to training before a Champions League semi-final is a confidence signal. Arteta is not hiding anything. He is not going into a bunker. He is preparing in plain sight because the preparation itself is a statement. The press conference at the Metropolitano at 6 in the evening sets the scene perfectly. Arteta standing in Atletico's stadium, speaking with composure before one of the biggest games in recent Arsenal history. That is the image of a manager who believes in what he has built. If Arsenal were fragile or uncertain heading into this tie, you would see a very different kind of preparation. What you are seeing instead is calm, controlled and deliberate. That tone comes from the top. Atletico Madrid working on corners, and what it reveals here is a fascinating detail from Atletico's training. They were spotted working extensively on corners. The observation being made is that Atletico appear to be preparing for Arsenal to still deliver corners directly into the box. The key intelligence here is that Arsenal no longer go direct from corners. Their set-piece strategy has evolved. Nicolas Jova, their set-piece specialist, has moved the Gunners away from the traditional delivery into the box and toward more layered, deceptive routines. This is significant for 2 reasons. First, Atletico may be preparing for a version of Arsenal that no longer exists. That is a tactical mismatch in Arsenal's favour. Second, it tells you that Atletico have a deep respect for Arsenal's set-piece threat. Even if they are preparing for the wrong version of it, the fact they are dedicating training time to corners means they consider it a danger. My reading of this is encouraging. If Atletico's corner preparation is based on outdated scouting, Arsenal could find space and angles that Atletico simply are not accounting for. In a tight semi-final, that kind of edge can be decisive. What Simeone said in his press conference, Diego Simeone spoke before the match, and his words are worth analysing carefully. He said the match will be special and that Atletico will give everything and need their fans. He said they are working a lot on set pieces because they know how dangerous Arsenal are. And crucially, he said this will not be like the group stage game. Let me break each of those statements down. When Simeone says they are working on set pieces because they know how dangerous Arsenal are, that is an acknowledgement of fear, not panic. Fear, the healthy kind that forces a team to prepare with precision. Simeone does not waste words. If he is talking about Arsenal's set-piece threat publicly, it means his team has been drilling it privately for days. When he says this will not be like the group stage game, he is referring to the 4-0 defeat. That is a manager drawing a line in the sand. He is telling his players and the world that what happened in October does not define what happens now. That is motivational framing. Whether it translates to the pitch is the question. What I take from Simeone's words is this: Atletico are coming with maximum intensity. They will be organised, they will be physical, and they will lean on the Metropolitano crowd, one of the most intimidating atmospheres in European football. Arsenal need to be ready for a different kind of game to that 4-0 victory. And if you want deeper analysis on stories like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Melissa Arsenal Talks is where you get the full picture, not just the surface. Subscribe and stay with me until the end of this video. The Calafiori situation and what it means for Arsenal. Ricardo Calafiori could still be fit to face Atletico Madrid. His absence against Newcastle United was reportedly just precautionary. Now let me tell you why this is significant. Calafiori is not simply a left-back option. He is a ball-playing defender who gives Arsenal an extra dimension in build-up play. His ability to carry the ball forward and find passes through lines is something Arsenal use structurally, not just occasionally. If Calafiori makes the squad for the Champions League clash, Arteta faces an interesting decision. Do you start him and trust that his fitness is genuinely there after missing the Newcastle game? Or do you protect him, keep him fresh and use him as an option from the bench when Atletico's legs begin to tire in the second half? The smart answer is probably the second option. Coming off the bench against a fatigued Atletico backline in the second half, Calafiori's quality on the ball could unlock spaces that a tired defence finds impossible to manage. That is the kind of chess Arteta plays well. Either way, having Calafiori available rather than absent is a positive. Arsenal go into this tie with more options than they might have feared. Gabriel Martinelli as Arsenal's key weapon. The case for Gabriel Martinelli being Arsenal's most dangerous player in this tie is a compelling one, and the evidence supports it clearly. In the Champions League this season, Martinelli has delivered 6 goals and 2 assists, not in the league where his performances have been more inconsistent. In Europe, on the biggest stage, the pattern against Spanish opposition specifically is striking. Martinelli has already produced big moments against Real Madrid, Bilbao, Atletico Madrid and Sevilla in previous seasons. His pace and counter-attacking threat hurts high defensive lines. Here is the tactical logic. In European competition, opposition defences leave far more space as they press higher and take the game to Arsenal. That space is exactly where Martinelli is most dangerous. He does not need to create chances from nothing. He needs space in behind, and Atletico's aggressive defensive structure could give him exactly that. The Metropolitano can be intimidating, Atletico can be suffocating, but if Arsenal can absorb early pressure and then transition quickly, Martinelli running in behind Atletico's backline at full pace is a nightmare scenario for any defence in the world. This is one of Arsenal's sharpest tactical weapons heading into the first leg, and it may well be the one that decides the tie. William Gallas on Victor Gyökeres. Former Arsenal captain William Gallas has given a frank and detailed assessment of Victor Gyokeres' debut season at the club. Gallas made the point that when Arsenal play on the counter-attack, midfielders need to look for Gyökeres at the first opportunity and give him the ball in front in the space. But according to Gallas, that is not happening consistently. The midfielders want to keep the ball, and Arsenal's possession style means Gyökeres is not getting served in the moments when he is asking for it. Gallas then said that Gyökeres has not scored enough goals and needs to reach a minimum of 20 goals next season. He also questioned whether Gyökeres dominates physically in the Premier League the way he did in Portugal. My analysis here is this. Gallas is raising a legitimate tactical question, not a personal attack. Gyökeres arrived from a league where he was physically dominant in a way that allowed him to impose himself on every game. The Premier League is a different environment. The physicality is different, the defensive organisation is different. But here is the important point. Gyökeres in his debut season is the club's highest goal scorer, and his shot conversion rate sits at the 93rd percentile. Those are not the numbers of a failing striker. Those are the numbers of a striker who is performing efficiently within a system that does not always serve him optimally. The conversation Gallas is opening is actually a conversation about Arsenal's system and how it uses its striker. That is worth having, but it should not be framed as Gyökeres being the problem. He is adapting to a new country, a new league and a new tactical structure. The adjustment period is real and the numbers still justify belief in him. Robin van Persie on Arteta's motored. Feyenoord manager Robin van Persie has spoken openly about taking inspiration from Mikel Arteta. Van Persie described seeing a video of Arteta holding light bulbs together before a match to show his players they were all connected. He said the message behind it was the same one he tries to deliver to his own players, that before a game you want to touch the boys emotionally, you want to share a story, show some footage, give them that final push. Van Persie also mentioned that Arteta has been known to play TikTok videos on a big screen during training to motivate players. Van Persie said he does not have a screen big enough at Feyenoord's training ground, so that particular method is not available to him. But he acknowledged doing similar things like training with the sound of a future opponent playing in the background. What this tells me as an analyst is that Arteta's influence on modern football management is extending well beyond Arsenal. When a manager of Van Persie's experience and profile publicly credits another manager's methods as inspiration, that is a significant endorsement. But more importantly, it gives you a window into how Arsenal's dressing room functions. Arteta is not just a tactician, he is a communicator, a motivator. Someone who understands that football is played in the mind before it is played on the pitch. That emotional intelligence combined with tactical clarity is a rare combination. The light bulb moment is now famous in football circles, and it tells you something important about how Arsenal arrive at big games. They are not just prepared physically, they are prepared mentally and emotionally. That matters enormously in a Champions League semi-final. Jamie Carragher's concern about Arsenal fatigue. Jamie Carragher has been clear about what worries him when he watches Arsenal right now, and his concern is not about tactics or quality, it is about fatigue. Carragher said his worry watching Arsenal against Newcastle was not nerves, it was the look of tired legs. He described Arsenal as the best team in the league without the ball, difficult to score against, difficult to play against, and one of the best pressing sides when at their best. But what he saw against Newcastle was different. He said it was far too easy for Newcastle to make passes and get to the edge of the box. He pointed out that Sandro Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes were allowed to dictate the game far too easily, and he said Newcastle playing with ease at the Emirates smacked of fatigue. Now, let me be direct about this. Carragher is not saying Arsenal are bad. He is saying Arsenal are tired. There is a fundamental difference. A bad team has a structural problem. A tired team has a scheduling and physical management problem. Carragher went further and addressed Arsenal's schedule specifically. He said Arsenal have been unfortunate with how their fixtures have fallen. When you play Wednesday, then Tuesday in Champions League semi-final schedule, that is 3 games in 6 days rather than 3 games in 8 days. He called it a massive difference at this stage of the season. Arsenal face Atletico Madrid away, then Fulham, then another match on Tuesday. That is an extraordinary ask. And while fatigue is a concern, the flip side is this. Every team at this stage of the season is tired. The question is, which team manages it better and which team's mental strength compensates for physical depletion? Arsenal have shown remarkable mental resilience this season. That may be their greatest weapon against fatigue itself. Carragher praises Nicolas Jova and the set-piece goal. Jamie Carragher made a pointed and funny observation about Arsenal's set-piece goal against Newcastle. He said there was a bit of pressure on Nicolas Jova, Arsenal's set-piece coach, to earn his money or his statue at the end of the season. And when Arsenal produced the set-piece routine that led to the goal against Newcastle, Carragher called it class. This is a brief but important moment to stop on. The reason it matters is because set-pieces are increasingly decisive in modern elite football. In tight games, in Champions League knockout ties, in moments where open play becomes suffocated, a well-designed set-piece can be the difference between advancing and going home. Nicolas Jova has built a reputation for innovative and unpredictable set-piece design. The routine against Newcastle evidently impressed even a sceptic. And heading into a game against Atletico Madrid, who we know are preparing specifically for Arsenal set-pieces, the ability to keep evolving those routines gives Arsenal a genuine tactical edge. Set pieces are not glamorous, they do not get highlight reels, but they win games. And right now, Arsenal's are among the best in the competition. The Gyökeres transfer rumour. Now to a piece of transfer news that has been circulating, and I want to be very clear with you. This is a rumour, this has not been confirmed. Treat it with appropriate caution. There are reports suggesting Arsenal are open to receiving offers for Victor Gyokeres. His debut season has been described as mixed, with 18 goals across 48 games. Some outlets are claiming the club could pursue Julian Alvarez as a potential replacement, and any deal for Alvarez could exceed £100 million. Now, here is my honest assessment of this rumour. 18 goals in 48 appearances in your first season in English football, having moved from the Portuguese league, is not a failure. Gyokeres is the club's highest scorer. His shot conversion sits in the 93rd percentile. Those numbers say this is a striker who finishes what he gets. The issue, as William Gallas pointed out earlier, is the volume and quality of service he receives. Selling your highest scoring striker to pursue a replacement that would cost over £100 million, when the problem may actually be systemic rather than personal, would be an extraordinary decision, and I am not sure the logic holds up. The Julian Alvarez angle is also worth noting here, with some irony. Alvarez is currently at Atletico Madrid. Arsenal are about to face Atletico Madrid in a Champions League semi-final. The timing of this rumour is either spectacularly coincidental or a piece of deliberate noise. Either way, it deserves a degree of scepticism. If Arsenal are genuinely considering moving on from Gyökeres after one season, that is a significant policy shift. But until there is concrete confirmation from the club or a credible primary source, this remains a rumour and nothing more. The Arsenal and Galatasaray strategic partnership. Arsenal and Galatasaray are reportedly in advanced talks over a potential strategic partnership. The proposed deal is understood to focus on youth development, scouting networks and loan pathways. The idea would give Arsenal access to emerging talent coming through Galatasaray's system, while offering Galatasaray's younger players experience in a competitive environment through loans to Arsenal or affiliated clubs. This is a model that has become increasingly common in modern football. Multi-club ownership and strategic partnerships are now a mainstream tool for clubs looking to build sustainable pipelines of talent. For Arsenal, the logic is clear. Galatasaray operate in Turkey, a market that has historically been undervalued by English clubs in terms of scouting. If this partnership gives Arsenal first access to emerging talent from that environment before other clubs identify them, it is a genuine competitive advantage. The loan pathway element is also important. Arsenal currently have a significant number of young players who need senior experience, but for whom the Premier League is not yet the right level. A pathway through Galatasaray's competitive environment could accelerate the development of players who might otherwise stagnate in the under-21 setup. If this deal is finalised, it could reshape both clubs' long-term transfer strategy. And for Arsenal, it adds another strand to what is becoming a genuinely sophisticated and modern football operation under Andrea Berta's sporting direction. Andrea Berta, Galatasaray and Victor Osimhen. Arsenal sporting director Andrea Berta was in attendance at the Galatasaray versus Fenerbahce derby. And it is understood he held direct talks with Galatasaray president Dursun Özbek during that visit. The headline from that conversation is this: Arsenal want Victor Osimhen. Now let me be precise here. This is reported intelligence, not a confirmed deal. It is a rumour at this stage. But it is a credible one because it connects to the Galatasaray partnership story we just discussed. Berta was not just watching football. He was building a relationship and potentially opening the door for a significant transfer. Victor Osimhen is currently at Galatasaray. He is one of the most powerful and clinical strikers in world football. His physicality, his pace, his aerial ability and his finishing make him the kind of centre-forward that would completely transform Arsenal's attack. Now, some of you may be wondering how this connects to the Gyökeres rumour. It is possible that Arsenal are genuinely considering a rebuild of their striking options. It is possible they are exploring Osimhen as an upgrade. Or it is possible these are two separate strands of transfer intelligence that are being connected by observers who are reading more into the situation than is there. What is confirmed is that Berta was at the match. What is confirmed is that he met the Galatasaray president. What the outcome of that conversation will be remains to be seen. Watch this space closely. Julian Alvarez dismisses Barcelona links. Fabrizio Romano has reported that Julian Alvarez responded directly to speculation linking him with Barcelona. Alvarez said he tries not to give too much importance to what they say because every week new information comes out. He said he tries not to waste energy on it and wants to focus on what he and Atletico are doing together. My analysis of this is straightforward. Alvarez is a professional athlete in the middle of a Champions League semi-final. The last thing his manager Diego Simeone needs is his key attacking player distracted by transfer noise. Alvarez's response is measured, dismissive without being inflammatory and focused. It is exactly what a manager would want from his player in this moment. What I find interesting is the timing. Arsenal are reportedly interested in Alvarez. Atletico are playing Arsenal in the semi-final. And Alvarez is publicly brushing off transfer links while insisting his mind is on Atletico. Whether his future actually involves a move away from Atletico remains an open question. But right now, in this moment, he is locked in. Arsenal will face a fully committed Julian Alvarez on Wednesday. Do not expect any distracted performances from him. David Raya names the one team he would never sign for now to a story that will delight every Arsenal supporter and irritate every Spurs fan in equal measure. David Raya, Arsenal's goalkeeper, was speaking on the Residency app when he was asked which team he would least like to play for. His answer was immediate: Tottenham Hotspur. This is not just a soundbite. There is a backstory here that makes it genuinely compelling. Back in 2023, Raya was very close to joining Tottenham. And in one of those moments that defines transfer windows and arguably defines seasons, Arsenal moved in and got the deal done. Raya ended up in North London as a gunner, not a Spur. Now, 3 years later, he has made it publicly and completely clear how he feels about that decision. And about Tottenham. Let me read the room on this for you. Players are almost always careful with their words when it comes to rival clubs. The safe answer, the professional answer, would be a vague response about respecting every club. Raya chose the opposite path. He named Tottenham directly, without hesitation, without ambiguity. That tells you something important. It tells you that Raya does not just wear the Arsenal badge. He understands what the badge means. He understands the rivalry. He understands the culture of North London football. And he leans into it fully. For Arsenal supporters, this reinforces a bond they already feel with their goalkeeper. He is not just a technically excellent shot stopper who organises from the back. He is a club man. He gets it. For Tottenham supporters, this is another wound in what has been an extraordinarily painful period. Raya once nearly became their goalkeeper. He is now an Arsenal cult hero who publicly says he would never play for them. That is a brutal combination. There is also a delicious irony buried in the next detail. When asked which players he is friends with from the Spanish national team, Raya named Pedro Porro, a Tottenham player, and Marc Cucurella as among his closest friends with Spain. So he is friends with a Spurs player personally, but professionally, Tottenham remain the one club he would absolutely refuse to represent. That distinction between personal friendship and professional rivalry is actually a sign of intelligence. Raya can compartmentalise. When he walks into the Arsenal dressing room or pulls on that shirt, club loyalty takes over completely. That is what makes him a great fit for Arsenal's culture. One additional detail worth noting. The story closes with an observation about what this rivalry could look like next season. Tottenham are currently in serious danger of relegation from the Premier League. The North London derby, one of the most ferocious and historic fixtures in English football, may not even exist next season if Spurs drop down. For Arsenal, that is not something to celebrate. A weakened rival is also a diminished stage. But for now, Raya's comments land at the perfect moment and with the perfect impact. The Endrick link and Ancelotti's words, Arsenal are being linked with a move for Endrick, the young Brazilian forward currently on loan at Lyon from Real Madrid. Let me be very clear. Real Madrid have stated they have no intention of selling Endrick. This is a rumour, not a confirmed transfer approach. Arsenal are said to be interested and to have made their feelings known. Now, let me tell you why Arsenal supporters should be excited by this name and why the reality of a deal remains extremely difficult. Endrick's national team coach, Carlo Ancelotti, has spoken about the young forward with a level of enthusiasm that is rare, even from an experienced manager who has worked with some of the greatest players in history. Ancelotti said Endrick is spectacular. He described his accuracy as off the charts, his pace as exceptional, and his dribbling and runs as elite. He said Endrick has a great shot and could be an even more prolific scorer than he already is. He called him a very young but a very fast learner. That assessment is remarkable. When an experienced manager uses the word spectacular about a teenager who is still developing, that is not a polite compliment. That is a genuine football verdict. Endrick has already scored 7 goals for Lyon this season on loan, and he is expected to go to the World Cup this summer as part of Brazil's squad. That tournament will be enormous for his trajectory. Here is the reality, though. If Endrick has a brilliant World Cup, Real Madrid will keep him. They will not let him leave under any circumstances. If he struggles at the World Cup, it opens a window. But even then, getting Madrid to consider a loan or a sale for a player they have invested heavily in developing would require extraordinary diplomacy and financial commitment. The most realistic scenario where Arsenal could access Endrick would be a loan arrangement, but even that would require Real Madrid's cooperation. And right now, there is no indication Madrid are willing to consider that. What this story does tell you, however, is that Arsenal's recruitment thinking is ambitious. They are not looking at mid-table signings or safe bets. They are identifying the most exciting young players in the world and asking the question. That mentality under Berta's sporting direction is exactly the shift Arsenal needed. Whether Endrick comes to the Emirates or not, the fact that the club is looking in that direction tells you everything about where Arsenal see themselves and where they are going. Let me bring all of this together for you. Arsenal are heading into a Champions League semi-final against Atletico Madrid on the back of a fixture schedule that Jamie Carragher himself has called massively unfortunate. They are tired. There are injury concerns. The Metropolitano will be at full voice. But here is what else is true. Raya is locked in and fully committed to the Arsenal cause Calafiori may be available as a weapon off the bench. Martinelli is in the form of his European career. Arteta has prepared his squad emotionally and tactically with the kind of detail that Van Persie, a manager himself now, openly admires. Atletico's set-piece preparation may be based on an outdated version of Arsenal, and Simeone's own words reveal a deep respect for what Arsenal can do. Off the pitch, the club is building strategically. The Galatasaray partnership, the Osimhen interest, the Mika Gott scouting and the Endrick link all point to a sporting director who is thinking both immediately and long-term simultaneously. And somewhere in the middle of all of this, David Raya reminded the world exactly what Arsenal means to the players who wear that badge. You do not have to go looking for a club that gets you when you are already at the one that does. Arsenal go into this semi-final not as underdogs, not as favourites, but as a team that believes. And right now, in European football, belief backed by preparation is the most dangerous combination of all. This has been Melissa, Arsenal Talks. Thank you for watching. If this analysis gave you something to think about, subscribe and share this with every Arsenal supporter you know. I will see you in the next one.